Me and Becky was actually talking about Betty Browning right before church, and
Oh, it was good.
it was good, yes. And she just walks in, and there she was, and it was quite a surprise to us. So we are glad she's here. Today I want to talk about righteousness, and I'm still trying to really fathom what righteousness is. The best I can come up with in a definition, if you will, is being right with God, having your life right with God. And when I was younger, you read the Bible, and you would, especially in the Old Testament, you would read where different people was righteous in God's eyes, Noah and Moses and just several people. And you, at least I thought, you kind of looked up to them, you know, they did everything right, or it seemed to be. You later kind of find out they wasn't as perfect as you thought. They're human like us, but they really was, at least in your mind, kind of up here. They was righteous. And I always wondered, well, how could I ever attain that? How could I ever be righteous? Because I know I'm not righteous, as you might put it in those terms. Then as you grow and you learn about everything God has done, you finally understand what Jesus has done. Well, you at least, I think it's a continual process your whole life, what Jesus has really done for us. And in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, it talks about Jesus dying, and that's how God made us righteous, was through His dying. That He took a man with no sin, and He became sin for us. And that's what makes us righteous. It's not something that we attain. It's not something that we do. It's a gift. And it's a gift from God. And that gift is Jesus. And that's why we're here today. And that's what we want to remember this morning, is how God's plan all come together. And that He knew that we were human. And He forgave us of that. And so we can go out today and days ahead knowing that if we have faith in Jesus and who He was and what He did, and depend on Jesus, then we can dwell in that righteousness. And that's what makes us righteous in God. So I'll go ahead and have a prayer. Dear Lord, we thank You this morning for, first of all, the gift of Your Word that we can learn from. We also want to thank You, the gift of Jesus, that through Him we are righteous in Your eyes. And there was no other way that it can be done except through Your Son. And as we take the cup and the loaf this morning, help us to stop and slow down in our life and remember how we live and how You would want us to live, and that we can always strive to be more like Jesus. It's in His name we pray. Amen.
You know, I always love talking about the talents God has given us. And I thank everybody for using your talents. And it can be given prayers, and it can be doing in a multitude of many things. And God has granted every one of us with a special talent. I mean, you all, and it may not be a special, but it may be a talent different than mine. It may be a talent different than somebody else. You know, I was on my days, what I'm going to talk about, and turn these two lights down back up here, because we're going to have a small video, and I'm praying that the sound booth's talent will reign through today, you know, because I've got about 3 things up here that we've got to have up here. Or Jason, come on back up here and talk the next 25 minutes, would you? Or 45, whatever it is. You know, Brad Conkright, I pick on Brad a lot, and he's not here. I can't believe it. I'm going to speak about him today. I'm going to talk about a talent, Dennis, and Brad's a no-show, you know. But he texted me here a while ago, because I told him, I said, you're going to be the subject of my conversation right up there with the man, Jesus. And Brad texts me back and says, can't make it, got a sore throat and a chest cough, and no fever though, you know. But he said, I'll watch you on Facebook. Brad, I hope you're there, because I'm going to talk about you. Talent. Do you know Brad Conkright had in his life drove 2.9 million miles? You guys know that? Without an accident and without, you know, without any kind of an altercation. That's a talent. A lot of you guys can't say that, and you drive very limited miles. But anyway, he retired. Like we all keep talking about retiring, Dennis and Paul and Jason. Well, you're not Jason, you're too young. Your dad, though. And I've asked him, I said, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I'm going to show a video of Brad, and we got to talking about Uber one day. You guys know Uber, the ride share people that you call them and they come and pick you up, all this, you know. So there's a video, I don't know if you guys have seen it on television. It made it all the way to YouTube.com. You know, you don't see Brad's face, but I want you to watch this small video, and Brad driving 2.9 million miles, and he picked up his first Uber case driver fare. You got that on there, Dan? This was on YouTube. This is Brad and his first his first Uber fare.
Why is it giving me a green screen?
You know, last week when Becky had that, and she said that to Mark, and Mark didn't put it up there. Did you see Becky's face on her last week when she said, put my video up there, and it didn't come up? Did you guys see that? Well, keep watching my face here in about 1 more minute. And I'm going to try to imitate Becky.
I don't know. For some reason, it's not going to come up. Here.
We practiced this yesterday. How's my face so far?
It's not great.
Is it showing? It does? I don't feel embarrassed, but you guys know that for the sound booth, I'm just ad-libbing here. You know, Johnny Carson he made millions ad-libbing, you know. And the sound booth needed a new piece of equipment, you know, all right, we're going to have to, go ahead and give me some sound, boys.
That's a man hanging off the back of the semi as it appears to be heading north along the Dan Ryan Expressway. This video, as you might expect, is picking up action.
That's Brad and his first Uber fare.
Dancing blessing as he dangles and mugs for the camera. The guy gets up close at one point and he definitely is smiling. This guy definitely not worried at all, apparently very confident in his ability to hold on with one arm, no less.
And a man hitches a ride on a semi-truck in one of the most...
Brad and his first fair, you know. So I didn't know he was going to combine them, but if you guys didn't see all that, that was a semi-truck running down the highway, and a man was dangling off the back of that, you know, and a car pulled up to him and filmed all that. So anyway, so Brad, I don't know if that was you in there driving, but I thought it was a great example of your talent that you spent a lifetime doing. I got another one here. Let's see how we do on the second one. Okay. I don't know if Brad's in the back of that, in the front of that truck or where he's at, but that should say, if you can't read that, did you pray today on the back of that truck? Did you pray today? You know, we've talked about, I've got a third one here in a little bit, you guys, when you guys don't put it up there yet, but I've got another one there that I want to talk about, and it talks about prayer, and it talks about prayer. I don't know whether you guys, as far as, it just seems like there's, you know, we're kind of just in kind of crazy times, but you read the Bible, it just, life has been this way for 4,000 years, just a kind of little unsettled. But you know, you go back to Jesus' world here. I talked about this on Easter, the Passion Week. The Passion Week. And remember, we went through that and we talked about literally just what happened in Jesus' life. That last week he was alive. And what I want to talk about today is Thursday. Thursday in Jesus' life on Passion Week. One day before he's crucified. One day before he's crucified. And you guys already know all this. On Thursday, he got up just Wednesday. It was very brief. Matter of fact, it didn't even really have anything on Wednesday in Jesus' last week. If you guys remember that. That was the day that Judas was conspiring to turn Jesus over to the authorities. And then on Thursday, Jesus knew all this already. But then on Thursday, Jesus gets up and starts his day preaching and teaching and talking to the people, because he had just massive crowds around him still. I mean, because he had just come through Good Friday. But you know, so about midday, Jesus tells one of his following, find a room. He tells them exactly how to do it. And I'm in Matthew, and he tells them exactly how it's going to play out. Find a room, and we're going to have our Passover meal. And then we're going to have our get-together. We're going to be together. We're going to pray. So Jesus had started planning this about, let's say, mid-morning or noon. So he tells somebody. So let's assume they have their meal about 3, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, their Passover meal. And it plays out just like Jesus says it's going to. And Jesus starts to tell them the story about, or the fact, that somebody's going to betray him. You guys have read this thousands of times. If we added all this together, you guys have read this story 1,000 times, more. And all his disciples, what do they start saying? Is it me? Is it me, Lord? And he never tells them exactly who's going to betray him until he tells Judas. And he doesn't make an audible announcement by the way the scriptures read. He tells Judas, when they break bread, and he says, this is going to be my last supper. This is going to be, I want you to remember me on this. And during this same time, if you guys remember this is when he tells Peter that he says, you're going to deny me 3 times. And Peter goes, oh no, it's not possible. Not possible. So this is taking place on Thursday. So sometimes they break up from this, and then if we can get my next picture on there, please. You know, so I'm going to use the word adjourn as what's happened here. So these guys all leave this room in Jerusalem. Okay, this is a story, you guys. Can I tell you something? The pointer does work, Dan.
Yeah.
Don't touch the pointer! All right. Don't touch the pointer. Does it work? Yeah. Anybody's colorblind, that's green. Okay, so this is happening right about here, somewhere in Jerusalem. So you guys have read this story 1,000 times. They adjourn from here because Jesus knows what is going to happen. He goes to one of his safest, most confident places in his life. The Garden of, I've had a terrible time saying this week. Gethsemane. Is that right, Deborah? You know how many times she's made me say that? Jason, I lost count. Did I say it right? Anybody know?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you. Hey, thanks, man. All right, thanks for that vote of confidence. All right, so they adjourned to there. That's about a half a mile. All right? That's not very far. I see you people walking all the time. I mean, you know, we're not half a mile, it's not very far. All right, so this is the Mount of Olives, which is nothing more than just a hillside here, and this is a garden type setting, and there's a mountain. This is kind of a mountain range right here. It doesn't show it, but it separates Jerusalem from this mountain range, and you go into the desert there. All right, so Jesus and his group of guys have departed from here to here. And I've asked my good friend Bill Durrell to come up here, and I told him, I said, I don't know how we're going to do this. I said, if they don't get all this stuff on the screen, you may have to come up here and sing a couple of songs. All right, so I asked Bill, so they are here. They are here right now, and Jesus knows that in the time for him living on this earth as the first life is going to end here real quick. Go ahead, Bill.
Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, sit here while I go over there and pray. He took along Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee and began to feel sorrow and distress. Then he said to them, my soul is sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and keep watch with me. He advanced a little and fell prostrate in prayer, saying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will. When he returned to his disciples, he found them asleep. He said to Peter, so you could not keep watch with me for 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not undergo the test. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Withdrawing a second time, he prayed again, my Father, if it is not possible that this cup pass without my drinking it, your will be done. Then he returned once more and found them asleep, for they could not keep their eyes open. He left them and withdrew again and prayed a third time, saying the same thing again. Then he returned to his disciples and said to them, are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Behold, the hour is at hand when the Son of Man is to be handed over to sinners.
So now we're up to Thursday evening. I'm going to tell you, you're probably talking about 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening. Okay, Jesus knows what is coming. And he's asked his followers to pray for him. If you read Mark, almost identical version. If you read Luke, a little bit closer. It's a little bit off, but not bad. But he looks at it more from a doctor's perspective. And then John tells the same story, but his version again is a little different. The word I want to pick up on today, you guys, is temptation. He tells them to pray that you don't fall into temptation. Can I tell you the definition of temptation? Because we all encounter it every day of your life. And how you handle that is totally how strong you are. How strong you are in the Word. I'm going to read. To entice to do wrong by promise of pleasure. Jesus never said, he did say the one thing, if there's any way, God, that this can be lifted from me. But his prayer was for that his disciples did not fall into temptation. Remember when Jesus had just got baptized? He went to the desert. And who was there? Satan was there. The great enticer. So Jesus went out there to just fast and to pray, to get his bearings in life and focus on his mission. And old Satan was there and promised all these, at least 3 enticements to Jesus. And he said, get away! Get away. You know, it didn't take much. You guys, you think about it, it didn't take much for his disciples to fall away. That very day, that very night. Judas had been tempted. And he did fall away. And Jesus knew it. And all the rest of them said, is it I, Jesus? Is it I? And then he talks to Peter. Peter says, no, was it fear? Did Satan entice him with fear? Or the conclusion of what was going to happen? But he fell away. And Jesus told these guys every time, pray for strength away from temptation. So of course you guys know the rest of the story. They came and Judas turned him over. And I've often wondered, because Jesus was anti-violence. He was anti-disruption. So, was Jesus talking about the ear episode? Remember when one of the guys pulled his sword out and cut one of the people's ears off? And Jason said, Jason, I'm looking at you. Jesus says, no, I didn't come here to cut this guy's ear off. So don't do that. Don't do that. You know, the Lord's Prayer talks about temptation. Don't give us a bigger temptation. God doesn't tempt. Satan does. So on Thursday, he is literally still telling his closest associates on earth, do not fall into temptation. You guys want a list of temptation today you're going to be challenged on in 10 minutes, in 5 minutes, in a day, in a week, in a month? So when he was saying to his disciples, I want you to pray. Go back and read that line, you guys. I just closed my Bible. Go back and read that line. I've missed that for a long time. I'm sitting here thinking Jesus is sitting here saying, God, if there's some way. And you know what his prayer was? That these guys are praying that they don't fall into temptation. I've changed my thinking on when I offer prayers up to God. I'm mad at somebody or whatever it is. What's the temptation that I need to turn from? Hey, singers, come on back down here if you would. Read the rest of that. I love that story. All I did was get you through Thursday. I got you through Thursday night. And they just came and took your Lord and Savior to start this. You know, in one of my commentaries it talks about Jesus, and I've wondered this, I've said this. I think Jesus, when the world sits here and says, that guy was weak. That guy had to have been the strongest, bravest individual that I've ever encountered. Because my commentary said that he wasn't praying that, God, is there some way you can lift this from me? He was praying, he knew how gruesome this was going to be in the next 24 hours. How gruesome physically he was going to be treated. Is there some way you can lift that? And we know, because you know why, Dan? We read the back of the book. It couldn't be lifted. It couldn't be lifted. Fight temptation. Pray that you fight temptation. Go ahead, Lynn, fire this up. Girls are ready.